Welcome to the Financial Jungle. This is Sher Khan Podcast.
I know a lot of us are waiting to hear from some industry expert or the other to find out, what should we be doing in such a market scenario, whether we should be putting in more money, whether we should be taking out all our money, whether we should just wait and watch. So we are very lucky to have Bala with us, the MD and CEO for Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC. He's worked with the organization since 1994. He has over 26 years of experience in the mutual fund industry. He was a chief investment officer before his promotion to this role. He's also closely associated with the key industry bodies. He's on the board of governors for NISM, which is the National Institute of Securities Markets, which is actually a SEBI established entity. He's also on the committee of corporate bond market development of SEBI. Besides these prestigious roles, obviously he plays an active role in AMFI as a board of director, where he was in fact the chairman. So, before I pose my first question to Bala, as we all call him in the industry, just wanted to give a brief introduction of myself also. I'm Gautam Kalia. I'm the head of investment solutions. This is a share foresight event where we try and give access to industry thought leaders and their views on the market, and can use this information along with our house view and research view to take smart decisions on your end. So Bala, I'd like to start off by asking you a question by citing Warren Buffett. I think a very very often quoted individual. So he says that we continue to make more money while snoring than when active. So do you agree with this philosophy? Should long-term investors follow this strategy during such volatile markets, or do you think they should act?
No, I think in general, what Warren Buffett advice is right. But equity is more about identifying companies and sit on it. And the same way, the mutual fund also, you buy the mutual fund units and sit on it. And it goes through ups and downs, and sometimes, and both the ups and downs, generally, when I had one of my interviews, I generally said that bear market may be a market which is a down market, stays for about 3 years. The bull market lasts for about 18 months and then come back. And that's something which I think normally happens ups and downs in the market. But times like this today, of course, it's not exactly difficult to sit on it without taking any action, which again comes in the form of portfolio rebalancing. I think portfolio rebalancing is something one keeps as a constant concept. Then whatever I wanted to do, taking into account the new trend that emerges, that can be adjusted through the asset allocation model. But I think broadly as a principle on equity, I fully agree that staying calm, staying cool, and stay for longer term would, I think, probably give you more money than getting worried about market fluctuations.
Right, Bala. Thank you so much for that. That basically means that while you're saying we shouldn't act too much, but when you talk about asset allocation, in a way you are asking us to act by increasing our exposure to equity now. Because obviously in a 70-30 asset allocation, now suddenly the 70 equity has become 50 equity and 50 debt, which means that you're forced to buy low in equity and increase your allocation. So to some extent, we should actually look to invest now to maintain our long-term asset allocation target. So I get that. Thank you so much for that. Just wanted to move on to the next question, because it's easier said than done, because the markets are down now. You see portfolios in the red. You see your hard-earned money down by 30%. The Sensex has corrected almost by 30% from the beginning of the year. And, you are dealing with a lot of anxiety as an investor when you see that kind of red in your portfolio, and you see your portfolio value erode so drastically. You kind of start questioning mutual funds, you start questioning the market, you start questioning, so many things. So given the amount of experience you have, I think you'll be in a better position to tell us how will this event impact investors' existing portfolio over a longer term basis. In the short term, obviously it's very clear what's happening. But over a longer term, would you say that it's okay, it's just a blip, or is it going to have a meaningful impact on the portfolio of the long-term investor?
I think what you said, the observation is right. I think the question that comes, obviously, even I myself had this question, despite being in the market for so long, saying I have invested a large portion of my money in equity mutual fund schemes. They are completely down by about 20-30%. What should be done? So I was recalling some of the memories that I had in 2008 crisis when we were going through. That also came and suddenly hit in the Lehman Brothers crisis, and then we saw market crashing in the entire world market, and India too had to go through a pain period from 2008 to 2009. That was not created by self; it actually came from overseas, and then we saw actually 1999 bubble where single sector is getting hammered very badly. Also, I've seen myself. I've seen. I think at every point of time, this question is to come. My portfolio value is down so much. What should I do? And as I mentioned earlier, in both the occasions, while the market remained volatile for about 1.5 years period, the market also came back equally with a strong vengeance. And then for 2 months, 2 years, return did not come. It got compensated in about 1 year period. So that's something which I have seen it. Therefore, while your point is right that yes, portfolio is in red at this point of time, I think it's not just only in India, it's actually globally everywhere it has fallen. It's not a single sector which has fallen or a single stock that has fallen. It's falling across the board. And therefore, it has got nothing to do with the single sector exposure or something. It's something broadly to do with the earnings postponement that happens because of the lockdown, etc. This is something, it's like not getting the 1 quarter earnings as part of the 1 or 2 quarter earnings coming part of the results, which essentially means it's getting postponed from 2021 results to 2022 results. And that's why I think the market will start looking at it and will start discounting that. Therefore, I think we have seen the enough history in the past, though this time we can always say this is completely different from what we have seen in the last 30 years, or as the BlackRock CEO says, he's not seen in his lifetime of 40 years. But the fact of the matter still remains that when things settle down, it also comes back with equal vengeance, for which the environment also reasonably is there, with interest rate being low, and regulators taking actions, Reserve Bank of India taking actions to bring back the growth back. All such things will take some time to play out. Believe me, as the COVID, the trend reverses from worse to good, then naturally the market will also start discounting that positive in the market. Therefore, market is a function of optimism and hope. Right now, the hope got damaged quite a lot, and that one thing returns. We have a lot of things to look for next year from the economic point of view. Therefore, I would assume while the loss at this point of time, it hurts all of us in seeing the value being shown as a negative big time, but that should not make people bother. At the same time, as I mentioned in the earlier question, I think maybe this fall could also be used as an opportunity to buy selectively, not in a hurry, but selectively some 50% now and then little later in a SIP form or STP form. I think as we keep that principle, I think it should be all right.
Right, Bala. So basically, what I understand from this is that we should look at this as an opportunity. We should look at investing, increasing our investments gradually, if not completely now. We should try and stagger our entry into the market. Obviously, we're not trying to time the market, but what we're trying to do is kind of average out our entry point. So I completely understand that point that you're making here.
Yeah, that's right.
Wanting to get a little bit more specific, you mentioned something about a delay in achieving the projected revenue results. So if the revenue projections for a particular quarter obviously are getting delayed, so what kind of delay are you expecting? And just to be more specific, where do you see this crisis? How do you see this crisis unfolding? I know it's a little bit of an unfair question because I'm asking you to gaze into the future. But, if we don't ask you, then there's practically no one else we can turn to kind of look for direction. So do you see, there's one report from BCG that says till September will be in quarantine, lockdown. Then you have other views that talk about that, things will open up a little bit, then there'll be a spike in cases again, and then there'll be a shutdown again. till the curve flattens, and then again once you open it up, there'll be a spike, and this trend will continue on an ongoing basis. So, where do you see the model going forward as far as COVID is concerned?
I think the way I see on the base of the various information that is coming in, the search that is being done, I think it started in the month of November and is being gradually spreading. And then on the other side, while of course every country is worried about the spreading of this virus in their own countries and respective zones, I think all governments have also taken steps right from quarantine to segregation of those people those are affected, as well as trying to find medicines. And there has been some progress, which I think on the basis of trial and error basis, there are some medicines that are now being tested, and from the existing medicines, they are now of the opinion that it can help in curing and so on and so forth. So these things, in my view, I think the here is not just only one country is working. I think the whole world is working on this. So I would assume soon a resolution will come. And second is even countries like Singapore and Russia recently announced. I think every country has thought about, I think, applying India way of handling things. I think would be work much better. Which again, lockdown kind of form. I think everybody seems to be taking a call that lockdown is better option than keeping it running simultaneously. I think that's something which also can help in reducing the number of cases are being detected or number of cases are being considered as dead and so on and so forth. I think that's something in my view, next 2-3 weeks, we'll see that the numbers start showing a downtick. And once it starts coming in, I think from a broad, by the time I would also assume some vaccines will be found because such a huge scientific presence science presence is there in every country. I don't think they'll take any more time to figure out what medicines could be found actually for the solution for this. Which also in my view another 3-4 weeks is a high probability that come and hit the market, and that could be the inflection point for changing the optimism back to the global economy. I think we are at a stage where different countries are saying, like China have already started seeing some downtick in the number of cases getting impacted. Plus, on the contrary, they have started manufacturing units in some parts of the country quite nicely. That again shows an indication that I think they are coming back on track. Those are not going to come back in a hurry, as I mentioned earlier, but at least the downfall, if it gets restricted, and then uptick is something which is a function of various things, which I think we can hopefully of getting it.
Right, Bala, thank you so much for that. I think the key risk, because you mentioned 2008 and you mentioned 3-4 weeks now, I'm kind of trying to put the two together, and for a long-term investor, the key risk could be that your view doesn't pan out over the next 3-4 weeks, but takes maybe 3-4 months. And it's if you remember the 2008 scenario also, the market was in a slump for a while, and you mentioned that the bear market lasts for 3 years, bull market bounces back. So the risk for the long-term investor just could be losing patience. Just not being able to have the staying power required to tide over this market situation, and giving into the fear and redeeming the money and ending up selling low. So I think that is something which all of us should take away from this call, keeping in mind that there'll always be this temptation to act on the portfolio and kind of redeem everything and just wait and watch on the sidelines, wait for things to normalize. Obviously, if you do that, then you end up buying high. Once all the positive news is priced in, you're already quite late. So just wanted to quickly move to some of the short-term investor viewpoint as well, because we've been talking about long-term investors now. From a short-term investors, a lot of our clients, because they trade in direct equities as well, besides mutual funds. They obviously look at direct equities as a fantastic opportunity, and some of them have the ability to take much higher risk. So they are considering moving their mutual fund portfolio into direct equity. And obviously there's there is this attraction on direct equity where you look at some stocks that have been on your radar for some time and suddenly they are extremely attractive in terms of valuation and price. What would you suggest to these investors?
I think of course, I can't say buying direct stocks is not right, and naturally, as long as one buys the stocks purely on the basis of understanding what the company is doing and how they are well placed from a longer term delivery point of view from business angle. And second, the governance of management is also well understood from the point of view of delivering shareholder satisfaction. I think those principles are kept in mind, and then by, of course, it's being advised by Shah Khan, I'm sure some bit of research backing could be there in that. So absolutely nothing wrong in that kind of strategy. I think mutual fund, of course, gives a diversified portfolio. The issue that will come on the direct portfolio, of course, sometimes I also do have exposure to direct equity to a small extent. I think only the issue that normally comes in direct equity is one, we may not end up reviewing the portfolios frequently, and second is sometimes we may not have the discipline of, say, not having 5%, 10% in single stocks, and those kind of concentrated exposure which normally happens in individual portfolio. It can potentially have both the sides, positive impact, negative impact. For a market like this where so much uncertainty is there, it could definitely have an impact. As long as I think one maintains the principle of buying into the good companies, fall into the highest, but secular stories, it's worth looking at that. At the same time, even money manager also does the same thing. And from a diversification point of view, I think some portion of the money can still kept in the mutual fund space.
Bala, I think I completely understand what you're saying. All your points are essentially related to one thing, which is good risk management. And when the markets are so volatile, managing risk is probably more important than generating alpha. And I think that is a key advantage that mutual funds have, especially with the kind of manpower and the professional management that is there. Obviously, if you're able to manage your risk well as an individual investor, then direct equities is also a good option to consider. So completely understood that point. Let's just move on to the debt markets. There is obviously a lot of change happening in the debt market space. So do you think now is a good time to invest in the debt market, especially with the kind of SOPs that the government and SEBI, RBI, all the financial institutions are working? SEBI is obviously working towards more retail participation. RBI has obviously done so much in the monetary policy. I'm sure the government is also thinking of more SOPs. So do you think all these things are going to make the debt market much more lucrative relative to equity?
So I think both I think serve the purpose of taking out the investors the requirement for saving money through both fixed income and equity. I think equity comes with a different risk and price points today is attractive, therefore equity could be an option to buy. At the same time, fixed income, as I mentioned about earlier, asset allocation, fixed income should always be part of the investor's portfolio to have a right diversification. Having said that, I think the point what he made, Reserve Bank of India has cut the interest rates and they continue to provide liquidity in the banking systems, and globally interest rates are coming down. And therefore, the bond portfolio in general, mutual fund bond portfolios, as long as one doesn't chase the return in the form of looking at OITM and then higher the OITM, I'll make an investment. And those kind of principles, if it is not there, I think if sticking to reasonably well-constructed portfolio in the AAA and AA plus kind of names, coming from the banking PSU fund, corporate bond fund, even liquid fund for that matter, itself can give you a better return than the savings account of banks, with a better tax-adjusted basis. Therefore, the fixed income plays a very important role in everyone's portfolio. And even during this time, I was just looking at the number for the last 1, 3, 5 years on equity versus fixed income. Naturally, fixed income has done far better from the portfolio return point of view. I again extend the same logic to 7 and 10 years. 7 also fixed income has done well. And of course, 10 year on equity has done better than fixed income. But if you take the fixed income, all the period 10, 7, 5, 3, 2, 1, all the period, the return range has been about 6 to 9%. As long as one doesn't bring the greed element on this on fixed income space, I need higher return, and by taking higher risk, looking at the YTM and go down the credit curve. If that, I think, keep as a principle not to chase those construction of fixed income portfolio philosophy, and stick to the 3-4 funds which I mentioned. I think the experience can be a lot better to the investors, and also helps during this kind of time the market has fallen substantially. Such asset allocation also helps increase allocation into equity from the fixed income space and vice versa.
Right, Bala. I think a lot of our customers are finding, asset allocation the way to go. Especially clients who were predominantly invested in equity are now recognizing the advantage of diversification and, having a little more exposure to debt. Because, there was a time in between where debt funds were also short-term returns were not very attractive. But now with the interest rates coming down and the action taken by RBI, there's obviously, the NAVs have jumped up and the returns are looking healthy again. But I understand what you're saying, that it's not really a space where aggressive investors should invest to generate alpha. It's more of making sure that the volatility of the entire portfolio is managed better, as long as we are looking at good quality and good credit papers. Moving on to the next question, Bala. We've covered long-term investors, short-term investors. I wanted to cover also another segment of our clients, which are the new-to-market investors. Clients who've been on the sidelines or who just happen to have money now, and they are wondering whether this is really a good time to invest. So if I'm a first-time mutual fund investor exploring the option of getting into the market now, what would your recommendation be to someone like me as a first-time mutual fund investor?
I think first-time mutual fund investors, naturally, I assume that they would come for the longer-term investing. Keeping that in mind, the first-time mutual fund investors, the current market should also be considered as the market fall is also coming as a blessing in disguise. Therefore, start somewhere. I think for new investors, I think starting is the must. And then comes in the asset allocation, what size, etc. Therefore, start somewhere within the diversified equity funds, whether it's large cap or multi-cap funds in the equity portfolio. At the same time, have some proportion right from discipline, right from beginning itself, to have some fixed income exposure, like banking and PSU funds and corporate bond funds. Suppose I want to put lakh of rupees, 15,000 rupees I put in equity, 15,000 rupees I put it in these two fixed income schemes. Then I keep doing actually from fixed income to equity, I keep rising it in the form of an STP over a period of next 2 or 3 months. And I'm taking 3 months period because next 2-3 months probably the market could remain volatile. I think once that settles down, monsoon sets in, we will probably see uptick coming back to normal. The market will start looking at next year earnings. Market will start looking at what government is going to do on reforms. So also I think will start driving the overall sentiment. Therefore, I chose the period of 3 months. I think coming into the schemes is important, either in the form of small lump sum or an SIP, whether it is in diversified equity funds, large cap or multi cap, and then have exposure to fixed income. I think this starting, would be key to the building a portfolio in the long run.
Right, Bala. Thank you so much for that. I think that will help a lot of our first-time investors, building a portfolio. But the important thing is to take the first step, which is start investing. Just wanted to come back a little bit on COVID and the problem really that is impacting the market. Suppose the lockdown were to continue for another 2 months. Obviously, there's some talk, there are rumors, there are conversations around the lockdown extending by 15-20 days. But let's say it were to continue for the next 2 months. What do you think is going to be the impact on our economy? Because obviously we started seeing this whole, population migration of day laborers. So what other things can we see or expect to see if this lockdown were to continue over the next 2 months? I
think if it gets continued for 2 months, Gaurav, I think it could have a with no proper arrangement for bring back the economic activities, whether it is running a factory, producing goods and selling in the market. At the same time, movement of people remains restricted. Then also I think it will remain an issue. Therefore, it could have a potential impact on economic growth, tax collection, and then the savings pool going down from the investors' point of view, and then the fourth is about the working capital which the corporates have been enjoying. I think the working capital currently is always meant for about 3 to 4 months of cash flow. I think working capital could dry and it could have an impact on the rating as well for the companies. Gradually, of course, the government, the Reserve Bank of India has given some leg room for rating downgrade not happen, and any adjustment that happens on the borrower will lend an agreement during this period. It can't be treated as a reschedulement and default on payment. That deferment with the Reserve Bank of India is permitted. But I think if it extended beyond the period, then even RBI also has to extend the period. In the absence of that, then it can potentially create some downside pressure on the market as well as an economy incrementally.
Right. So, Bala, when I listen to you talk on this point, it seems like it kind of reminds me of what I learned in school about the vicious cycle of poverty. And it seems like the economy is like an engine which will come to a complete halt if this lockdown continues for the next 2 months. And the longer the economy slows down or comes to a complete halt, the more effort and more the government will have to do to kind of bring it back to life and get the cycle going again, the cycle of production and consumption. So, do you think that could have a ripple effect, and what do you think the government should be doing, or what can we expect the government to do more in terms of SOPs to make sure that the economy doesn't just completely grind to a halt?
So I think right now the priority seems to be for the government is most to address the COVID-related issues. I think first and foremost they would put all the efforts to ensure that the number of or rather the COVID-related issues are coming down and then things are returning to normal. Once it is done, there are 2-3 things which the government, in my view, can do. One, try and boost the investment, even if the government is not able to bring in some foreign investors into some of the infrastructure projects. That could be one. And second is reforms around auto sectors such as scrapping policy, so that it can create demand supply equation more in favor of demand as we move forward. And third is related to the capital market announcement that they have made, whether it is long-term capital gain tax or dividend distribution tax or even buyback tax. All these things can be revisited to boost the sentiment of the capital market on the other side. So all such things, in my view, would come as we move forward the next 10-15 days. This time around, what I understand is Government of India may work more closely with Indian corporates, and given the fact that Indian corporates have come together in supporting Prime Minister Care Fund in fighting the coronavirus, so therefore that I think goes hand in hand with the government thoughts. This alignment, assuming gets converted into a business discussion, not to do any favor or something, but at least have a constructive discussion, which the government can use those constructive discussion for the purpose of rolling out certain structural reforms, will be of great help. Then finally, of course, I also feel that the government so far has taken steps on interstate administrative related decisions, and also bringing down the savings rate, and that also should help in ensuring that cost of financing for MSMEs also reduced for the banking systems. I think the combination of these two, what the government can do and what RBI has been doing it, this combination can actually help in reviving the sentiment after, say, 2-3 months.
Right, Bala. Thank you so much for that response. I think that cleared a lot of doubts. And thank you so much for answering the questions asked. I just have one last question for you before we end this call. What is your sectoral view? Which are the two or three sectors that you're currently bullish on, whether it's to do with valuations or whether it's to do with the business model. What are those 2-3 sectors that you're looking at closely to invest right now?
I think in some of our portfolio, Gaurav, is basically, I think pharma looks a little better compared to what you have seen in the past. I think telecom sector looks better, irrespective of whatever is going to come as an outcome with respect to what idea. Either side, it can have a positive or above effect on telecom sector. And third, with respect to the FMCGs, I think once the agriculture output is known and looks better, discretionary and non-discretionary goods manufacturing companies in the FMCG space can also actually be, some of them have corrected also in the last few months. Therefore, that also, I think, looks to be good from a secular theme point of view. And lastly, I think select financial service sector companies, that's why they got hammered for various reasons, because of ownership and slowdown could happen in terms of loan growth. But somebody is an established player, prices corrected about 40-50%. Naturally, they look much better from the medium to longer term ownership point of view.
Thank you, Bala. Thank you so much for taking the time out and answering our questions. I'd like to thank Aditya Birla Sun Life Asset Management Company for their continued support to Sharekhan and its clients. Thanks again to all the clients who have taken time out to listen in to Bala. We'll be making a recording of this conversation. I will send it to you shortly. Thank you again for joining the call.
Yeah. Thank you, Gaurav. It was my pleasure to be part of your team, addressing your investors, and hope to have good days. And you also remain safe during the COVID period.
Thank you. Thank you, Bala.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sharekhan's in-house research desk may or may not subscribe to the same views and may have different recommendations to offer. Statistics mentioned during the session have not been verified by Sharekhan. This conversation is for educational purposes only. The information and views shared herein is not intended to be and must not in isolation be taken as the basis for an investment decision.